Film will also stars Disha Patni in lead role. As per reports,
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Co-presented by Panasonic, create today, enrich tomorrow. Co-powered by CH, it helps. Co-powered by Sera, this is your space, play it your way.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination news. Newsmakers talking points. The big talking point is the tumult in the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi, where Arvind Kejriwal has finally dropped Manish Sisodia and Satyendar Jain, two of his ministers who are now in jail. Is this the end of the road for the Aam Aadmi Party? Among my guests tonight will be Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who is appearing as the lawyer in the Supreme Court for Manish Sisodia. So plenty ahead. But first, let's get you the 9 headlines at 9. Manish Sisodia, Satyendar Jain quit as Delhi ministers. Sisodia's 18 portfolios to be distributed among his colleagues. He insists that he is innocent. No Supreme Court relief for Sisodia in the plea against CBI as he seeks bail. Top court tells him to approach the High Court. The Deputy Chief Minister is grilled over the alleged 100 crore kickback via another aide, Vijay Nair. GDP slows for a third straight quarter at 4.4% amidst high inflation and waning consumer demand. Supreme Court sends a strong message to the Punjab government and the governor amidst a face-off over a delay in the budget session. Says a dire need for a constitutional discourse. The governor relents, calls for a session. UP cops probe gangster turned Neta Atiq Ahmed, another Umesh Pal murder conspirator pictured with Akhilesh Yadav. Samajwadi Party says he's a BJP worker. Galwan's hero's father abused, thrashed and jailed over his son's memorial in Bihar. Police claim the memorial was built on encroached land. India avenges murder of Kashmiri Pandit. Sanjay kills the terrorist who murdered the innocent civilian in Pulwama. New Zealand pull off a one-run miracle win against England in the second test. The second time in cricket history a team has won a test by just one run. And Jasprit Bumrah is now set to miss the IPL as well. The fast bowler is to undergo surgery to recover from the back injury that's kept him out of active cricket since August last year. But the story that we are breaking tonight is the big jolt to the Arvind Kejriwal government in the national capital. Manish Sisodia and Satyendar Jain, two of his ministers who've been arrested, have now resigned. Sisodia's 18 portfolios will be distributed among colleagues. Earlier, the Supreme Court refused any relief for Sisodia, asking the AAP leader to approach the High Court first to seek bail. So the big story once again is coming around the Aam Aadmi Party, which is facing its biggest crisis yet since it came to power 10 years ago. Remember, Manish Sisodia is accused in the Delhi liquor policy case, and Satyendar Jain has also earlier been arrested more than 6 months ago in a corruption case. All of this leaving a big question mark over the future of the Aam Aadmi Party, with both the BJP and even the Congress now targeting the party that was once seen to be identified with an anti-corruption brand. Take a look.
A big shake-up in the Delhi government. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal drops Manish Sisodia and Satyendar Jain from his ministry.
अब मनीष जी को भी इस तरीके के फर्जी मामले में फंसाया गया है और दिल्ली के बहुत सारे काम जो हैं इसकी वजह से रुक सकते हैं। बजट है, G20 है, अन्य सरकार की प्राथमिकताएं हैं। तो ये फैसला किया गया है कि जो है इन लोगों ने अपना इस्तीफा टेंडर किया, मुख्यमंत्री जी ने उसको लिया है और जो है आगे की जो है ताकि काम जो है जल्दी हो।
The resignations of Sisodia and Jain came just an hour after the Deputy CM's attempt to get relief from the Supreme Court failed. A two-judge bench headed by CGI D.Y. Chandrachud refused to interfere with the CBI's arrest, saying it would set the wrong precedent. The court said there are enough remedies at Sisodia's disposal. The bench suggested he approach the High Court. With Sisodia staying in CBI custody, AAP has come out guns blazing at the BJP, claiming targeted attacks on the opposition by the Modi government. With the political showdown peaking, the BJP has come out with a new term for AAP: cut, commission, corruption.
मुझे लगता था कि कट और कमीशन एक ही पार्टी की विरासत है, हाँ? लेकिन आज तो कहना पड़ेगा कि 3C केजरीवाल जी की पार्टी के लिए भी बोलना पड़ेगा: कट, कमीशन, करप्शन।
अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार का नाम हो रहा है। अरविंद केजरीवाल की लोकप्रियता और आम आदमी पार्टी की लोकप्रियता देश के दूसरे हिस्सों में बढ़ रही। परेशानी ये है, यह मुकदमा पूरी तरीके से राजनीति के। आप बताइए, अगर मनीष सिसोदिया ने कोई घोटाला या घपला किया है, जो बीजेपी वाले कहते हैं 10,000 करोड़ की रिश्वत खा ली।
Opposition parties have rallied behind AAP, with political leaders across the country hitting out at the Narendra Modi government.
केस में देखिए दम है ही नहीं, ये हम भी जान रहे हैं, ये जांच एजेंसियां भी जान रही हैं। अब कोर्ट को निर्णय करना है।
Kejriwal ji has already said the other day when he had come out to Matushri that people who are scared of people who are actually being targeted are those who are coming ahead speaking the truth very often. However, you can see a common pattern that the opposition parties are being harrowed and harassed constantly by the government agencies.
The Congress, which initially kept mum, broke its silence on Monday. Party leader Jairam Ramesh tweeted that agencies like the CBI, ED and Income Tax Department have become arms of the BJP.
बेरोजगारी है, तनाव और हिंसा का माहौल है। आप देख लो रोज क्या हो रहा है। ईडी, इनकम टैक्स, सीबीआई का आतंक है। जुडिशरी दबाव में है, इलेक्शन कमीशन दबाव में है।
The Liquor Gate probe has put a cloud on AAP. Can Arvind Kejriwal's party, formed on the plank of anti-corruption crusade, weather the storm? Bureau Report, India Today.
My first guest tonight and my newsmaker is Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who has been a counsel for Manish Sisodia, appeared for him in the Supreme Court. Dr. Singhvi, without going into the specifics of the case, would you broadly agree that with Manish Sisodia not getting bail today from the Supreme Court as you sought, he's in possibly for the long haul? These are serious Prevention of Corruption Act charges, and therefore Manish Sisodia could now have an extended term in prison.
First of all, Rajdeep, I speak here as a counsel for him. I'm not speaking politically at all. There are larger issues of the political system which can be discussed. But as far as your question is concerned, I don't think any such inevitability must be presumed. The court has only told us that the correct forum at the first stage is to go to the lower court. That's about it. There is no observation of the merits. There is no denial of bail, as is being repeatedly wrongly reported by the media, which somehow tends to take frequently a superficial view of court orders. It is that, and there is substance in that you cannot approach the Supreme Court straight away.
No, that's exactly. No, let's be very clear. You're blaming the media. The media is reporting that you went to the Supreme Court seeking relief for your client. The Supreme Court said, you don't come to us, go to the High Court. I mean,
that's right.
Clearly,
So
what the court was saying, that this was not a fit case to come at ab initio, at the initial stage, to the Supreme Court.
That's exactly what I'm saying, Rajdeep.
So that's a setback.
It's a denial. It's not a denial of merits. It is a decision that the correct forum, understandably, is the lower court. We also understand that it is in exceptional cases that the court can interfere, and they felt that this is not an exceptional case of the category which merits a direct intervention. So it was a decision on forum, where, not a decision on what. But to answer your larger question, I think you have the ladder from the trial court to the High Court, and there is no reason to suppose if the merits of the case are strong as we believe it is, that he should be denied bail indefinitely.
No, but
Not at all.
what is why is it an exceptional case given the fact that the CBI claims that they are building a chain linking Manish Sisodia as Deputy Chief Minister policy decisions taken by his government to alleged kickbacks that were received? Why should that be treated as an exceptional case? Should he not be able to first lay out a strong case to explain? The CBI says that they've got this link that they've established between retailers in Telangana and the Delhi government.
Now, you see, if you want to ask me the arguments raised, they are the following 6 arguments, which have a lot of merit, but they will be decided by a different court. The first is that there are judgments, like Vinod Dua's case, to an extent like Arnab Goswami's case, where direct interventions by the Supreme Court have been entertained. In particular, Vinod Dua's case. That was cited, that was read. But the court felt that it might open the floodgates if you start hearing every case directly in the Supreme Court. So there is a allowing to withdraw and go to the right forum. That's point one. On the merits, the arguments would be, as in when we go to the other forum, and we gave the flavor of that today in the court. Firstly, that this is a matter approximately August 22. He's been summoned twice in all. Both times he has gone there. The offence alleged is Section 7, which is less than 7 years. For less than 7 years, judgments of the Supreme Court say that unless it is shown by the arresting officer, the investigating officer on paper, that it is imperative to arrest. Without arrest, investigation will be impeded. Arrest is not the option of first choice. It is the last resort which has to be demonstrated. There can be no reason to arrest a person after 8 months, will be the argument in the lower courts, because he cannot be a flight risk. He cannot be interfering with witnesses. All the evidence is documentary. He has cooperated going when he comes. And therefore, there is no reason why you should need to arrest him. You can interrogate him as many times as you like. The larger issue why this might be a special category case is here is a person in public life. He's holding 18 portfolios. He's about to present the budget. The work of governance is impeded. And there is no reason demonstrated that you cannot do any investigation without arrest.
The CBI seems to suggest that A, he is non-cooperative, and B, that if he is allowed out, he could interfere possibly with the investigation, given the fact that he is such a high-profile individual.
Very important question. Just look at both your questions, and you will find the answers themselves, Rajdeep. You're an intelligent journalist, come person dealing with law, and you'll catch the answers immediately. First point, do you think that the meaning of interrogation is that I must go and admit my guilt? Is there a rule against self-incrimination? So if I go to you as investigating officer and you ask me questions and I say, look, I don't know or I don't want to answer, can you arrest me for that? That means that unless and until I admit my guilt, I'll be arrested. That is totally unknown to law, that rule. Second thing is, why should you need to at all arrest a person who has for now it's just say about almost just under a year, 10 months. There has been no evidence of interference with physical witnesses. Most of the evidence is documentary. After 10 months or 9 months in March of 2023, how can you possibly say that everything having been frozen, what can he interfere with? Everything is paperwork. So both those are fig leaves of arguments and they will be dealt with. Today, all that has happened is that the top court will not directly interfere. When we come up the ladder, I'm sure the top court, if necessary, will deal with it.
Therefore, let me ask you, Dr. Singhvi, you started off by saying that there are issues concerning the political system as well that perhaps also need to be looked at. And one of those issues allegedly is the fact that the process has become the punishment in this country, that particularly when you're an opposition leader, the ED and the CBI acts in a manner that makes you, in a way, go through an extended jail sentence. Are those arguments that can be made? That's whataboutery. That what about BJP leaders who get away and AAP or Congress leaders who suffer? You made a similar argument at the Raipur plenary. Does that argument hold? Misuse of agencies cannot be an argument to suggest that the individual is not culpable.
Not at all, Rajdeep, and I would appreciate if you give me a couple of minutes on a very important question you raised. It has nothing to do with Manish Sisodia. I made this point at the Raipur plenary in a speech in Hindi for almost 10 minutes. And I would like to explain this to you for your viewers to understand. It's a very nuanced and very important point. The point is this. Three facts stand out from 2014. You have published it, newspapers have published it, there have been press conferences. Fact number one, the total number of cases in sheer numbers where CBI and more importantly ED prosecution has been initiated has jumped 100 times, 90 times, 80 times. So if it's 10 before, it's 1,000 now, post 2015 or 14. Second, 95, if not 98% of that number, the 1,000 number or the 900 number, involves opposition leaders across the political spectrum. Fact number three, in the rare cases where people who have been in the opposition and have switched and have had cases pending against them, but have switched sides, there is a whole list published by all of you in the journalist field. There has been the BJP laundering machine. Now, this is only fact. What is the legal conclusion from this, which is what I asked for at Raipur? And this has nothing to do with AAP or Party B. I said at Raipur that you need, you will take time to come to a political coalition, which is ultimately the best way of dealing with Mr. Modi. And there has been now a call for a Congress-led coalition at Raipur. But before that, you should certainly have a legal coalition, which raises this issue before the court in a properly constituted petition that, look, if you add up these three facts, it amounts to creating a non-level, uneven, non-level playing field, which is skewed. And that affects democracy directly. If you start singling out in a discriminatory, selective manner only opposition leaders, that directly affects democracy. And if you affect democracy, you affect the basic structure.
That doesn't though in conclusion, Mr. Singhvi, affect the charge of corruption. My limited point and my final question to you therefore is, it's interesting. I know you've come here as Mr. Sisodia's lawyer, not as a congressperson, but the fact is your own party, particularly in Delhi, is saying that Mr. Sisodia is corrupt, that there is a scam in the liquor policy. So let's be very clear. The charges will have to be dealt with independently of what you say is the atmosphere which has been created of discriminatory treatment.
Rajdeep, you know very well that I am here speaking of something I said in Raipur 2 days before, 1 day before Sisodia was arrested. I am now saying something very different. I am saying that there is valid ground for a legal coalition of the top 10 parties going to the court and saying, look, and this is not about individuals, that if you find evidence of a skewed, discriminatory, selective application of the law against only opposition leaders, then you are skewing democracy itself.
No, but go to the Supreme Court and say that. Why don't you go to the Supreme Court and say that ED and CBI is being misused?
That is the proposal I gave at Raipur. If you see my speech, it's in the public domain. That's exactly the proposal I've given at Raipur. That will happen in the due course of time. That is exactly the point I'm making.
You're giving us an important news point. You're saying that you are proposing that the opposition parties now go to the Supreme Court and say that the ED and the CBI are engaging in discriminatory treatment, therefore give us legal protection. Am I correct?
Let's get the facts clear, Rajdeep. I have saying this on Saturday, 2 days before, or 1 day before Sisodia's arrest. I'm not saying it today.
Okay.
B, it has nothing to do with AAP or Sisodia. C, this is a larger issue that whether the court should look at this phenomenon borne out by your statistics published among others in the Indian Express and elsewhere. We've had press conferences on that, which say that a coalition of the major, if not all, non-BJP, non-NDA parties should go to court. And I would be very happy to be tasked with drafting and putting that across to the court, for the reason that if you apply discriminatorily and selectively this agency set or this rule of various coercive laws against only opposition leaders, you cannot possibly have democracy. It is the antithesis of democracy. And that will affect the basic structure.
Okay, that's a very interesting argument that you're making, Dr. Singhvi.
In fact, I said jocularly at Raipur, Rajdeep, that while the political coalition may take some time to formulate, certainly this legal coalition should happen first. I said so publicly.
Let's leave it there. You've given us possibly what could happen in the future, that the opposition parties now possibly could go to the Supreme Court claiming that enforcement agencies are being misused and discriminatory treatment against them. We'll wait and see whether that flies with the court. But Dr. Singhvi, as always, sharp legal mind, analytical mind. Good to have you on the show. Thanks very much. Let's look, therefore, at the politics, though. Is this the end of the road for AAP? Can the AAP weather this corruption storm? What are the challenges that lie ahead of the Aam Aadmi Party? Joining me now, Yogendra Yadav, co-founder Swaraj India, once a founding member of the AAP. Harish Khurana is BJP spokesperson, and Saurabh Bharadwaj is AAP MLA and spokesperson. Let's turn to each of you to give us answers to that. I want to start with you, Yogendra Yadav. As a founding member today, do you believe that the AAP still has a future, given the number of their senior leaders who find themselves in the crosshair of the law for corruption charges?
Rajdeep, allow me to begin with something else. Allow me to first of all clarify that I'm not with Aam Aadmi Party. I'm no friend of Aam Aadmi Party. Number two, that my party, Swaraj India, was actually the first party in the city of Delhi to raise questions about the excise policy. Not today, not in 2021. Actually, way back in 2015 and 16, we had raised questions. And number three, I do believe that this is a serious case. It's a case that doesn't put Aam Aadmi Party in a great light. It's a case which deserves to. This is not figment of imagination. This looks like a serious case prima facie. Having said it, should I applaud, therefore, when Mr. Manish Sisodia is arrested? No, I can't, Rajdeep, because something much bigger is at stake, as came out from your conversation with Mr. Singhvi. What we are witnessing is one after another. If you have an opposition government, either they steal your MLAs away, or they put your key functionaries in jail on one pretext or the other, apply completely different standards in your case than in anyone else's case, and therefore make it virtually impossible for you to govern if you are in opposition. No Democrat can celebrate it. I don't think it's whataboutery, Rajdeep, to think about other cases in which such things have not been done. Because when you assess a situation like this, you say, okay, what are the norms? What should be the norms about arresting? And on that point, I happen to agree with Mr. Singhvi. He has a much better legal mind than I do. Unless you can say that this public functionary is destroying evidence, can destroy evidence, or is about to run away, why arrest? Build a case. This looks like prima facie a serious case. Build a case, take it to the court, get him convicted. That's all right, perfectly all right.
So
why this political drama?
So let me get it clear before I go to my other panelists. You're saying you believe prima facie this is a serious case. You believe that there is a prima facie case of corruption. You're only questioning the procedure adopted. Now the CBI will turn around and say, look, we are following the procedure. We've arrested him. We've gone to the court. We've sought custody. We are following procedure. You can't then turn around and say, oh, but what about the BJP leaders who have been allowed to get away?
Rajdeep, one, I did not say this looks like prima facie a corruption case. I'm not into prima facie judging it. I'm saying prima facie it looks like a serious case. And Aam Aadmi Party in this initial exchange doesn't come out looking very good. But let's not rush into these things. These are very serious charges. And a party that has come on the plank of anti-corruption should answer, and I'm sure my colleague Saurabh Bharadwaj sitting here will try to answer these questions. All I'm saying, but on the question of CBI, no, Rajdeep, I don't think this is the normal standard procedure. The normal standard procedure is that you ask someone questions, you investigate. If they don't, you proceed further. You finally take the case to the court and get the court to pass a judgment. Why arrest? Why do all this drama? Okay. All this drama, to my mind, is to distract the attention away from the biggest scam that this country has seen, which involves Mr. Adani, which involves direct connect to the Prime Minister of this country. This is what it is all about, and that's why I cannot celebrate it.
Interesting, you're saying this is a distraction, you believe, from the Adani issue. I'll come to that to Harish Khurana in a moment, but Saurabh Bharadwaj, let's be clear. When your number 2 in government gets arrested, when your number 3, if I may call Satyendar Jain, that gets arrested in the government, all on corruption charges, somewhere the sheen is gone. You all came to power as an anti-corruption force. Like it or not, this has been a huge reputation hit.
Rajdeep, I'm not into politics for long. I've been in politics for like 11 years. And believe me, in 2013, in 2014, in 2015, and many more years, we have had similar occasions when we thought that now probably the party may be over. Probably our careers in politics are done. And a lot of political analysts also thought so. But what I've seen in my experience is that whenever Aam Aadmi Party has faced such attacks, we have come out stronger out of it. And I believe that we will rebound. And Rajdeep, it's a small world. Everybody is watching India and they can see that, there is a central government. And there is a small party which is governing a city-state called Delhi. And two of its ministers, Satyendar Jain and Manish Sisodia ji, they have been known for their works in health and education. These are the two main planks of Arvind Kejriwal's model of governance.
But that cannot be a defense.
What I'm
you
saying
see that if Manish Sisodia has done good work in education,
I'm not saying
that cannot be a defense.
Rajdeep,
You're going to have to answer the specific charges in this case.
No, Rajdeep, I'm not taking a defense. What I'm saying is that the whole world is watching. That you have two ministers who are known across the world for their work in education and health, and the central government ruled by Mr. Modi is targeting these two ministers. And these two specific ministers have been put behind the bars. So people are watching it, and it's a matter of shame for the government of India that everybody is closely watching all these developments in India, and this doesn't build any reputation for us. All the opposition ruled states are being disturbed by the governors or the agencies. These bring a lot of instability in the states. And if the states are unstable, do you think the government is stable? The country's outlook is stable? Then you talk about investments, then you talk about economy. When the central government itself is trying to destabilize the states, how do you see a growth in a country? You will not get any growth. You will not see any stability.
Okay,
so this is very unfortunate situation. That just for small political gains, the central government is hell-bound to destroy all the opposition.
You're in a way.
Sad.
Okay, Harish Khurana, you're hearing words like destabilize, distract. That actually the BJP wants to use the Aam Aadmi Party to distract from what the opposition saying is the real story to follow, Adani's story. We've also given a list yesterday which has now gone viral on Twitter, where we gave a list of all the BJP leaders who somehow seem to have escaped the ED CBI scanner the moment they switch sides. So, there are serious questions that Harish Khurana, while you are smiling, you will have to answer. At some stage, do you go along with that there is a distraction, an attempt to destabilize?
Rajdeep, I might be listening to my future Minister of Delhi, Mr. Saurabh Bhardwaj, who might be a minister in waiting. I understand his problem. He's batting on a weak pitch, so he might be defending a wrong person right now. He said he's in politics since last 2013. I am taking back to him to 2013 only. You know what they used to say? No, P. Chidambaram, Sheila Dikshit, Nitin Gadkari, no, they are corrupt ministers. We will not buy these. We don't want any proof. They have to go, they have to resign first and then to face the music and then to go to the court. Now what happened now? Satyendar Jain, who's in jail since last 8 months on the order of court, not by order of any ED or any CBI. He's in jail since on the order of the court right now. Vijay Nair, their close associate, the close aide of them, is in jail and rejected 4 times his bail. He's in jail since last few months, and 4 times his bail has been rejected. So, is it a CBI or ED vendetta? No. I think they are legally and morally both are down right now. Morally, because since last 8 months, their minister is in jail. They are not taking any action. 2013, they used to say, we are the Kattar Imandar Log. So, their morality has gone for a toss. In Punjab also we have seen that.
So you're saying, you don't agree that the rules are different? You refuse to accept that the rules are different in this country now for BJP leaders who've had to face ED and CBI charges that are put on the back burner.
Rajdeep, I'll rebut on this. I'll give me 10 seconds. Rajdeep, you are a seasoned journalist. Since 2004 to 14, Manmohan Singh was the government in the center. And what CBI used to say, he said, Tota, how many cases on BJP was been impound? Tell me, kitne inquiries hui thi wahan pe? I don't think so, many of them. 2014 to till date, if you have any problem, I was listening to Abhishek Manu Singhvi. He's very cleverly says, I am over here for legal issues, but he talked about politically. How many cases he has filed a PIL on BJP leaders that ED is not taking an action? Let's intervene the court intervention. I think none of them. Or if they have one, we have seen what has happened in a court. My point is, they very easily finger point on ED and CBI, but on a legal battlegrounds, they always either don't appear or they fail.
Okay, so you're saying that if the opposition believes that there are BJP leaders getting away in similar cases, go and file a PIL before the court. Saurabh Bharadwaj, before we come to Yogendra Yadav, just let's get clarity. Let's get clarity. It's taken 8 months to get Satyendar Jain's resignation. Today you've taken Manish Sisodia's resignation. The belief is that the Aam Aadmi Party now first needs to do crisis management before it expands across the country. You're going to have to first get your reputation back. Do you concede that at some stage, all of what has happened is a setback?
Rajdeep, believe me or not, we have been getting a lot of feedback from the ground. We sit in our offices where we talk to lots of people. And, we are not the kinds of politicians with whom, people are afraid to tell the truth. They keep sending us texts, they keep sending us WhatsApp, and we see Twitter and everything. I think people can see that the way the central government is targeting Aam Aadmi Party, central government is very serious about Aam Aadmi Party's growth in India. They do understand that Aam Aadmi Party is growing at a faster speed possible. We have governments at 2 states. We have MLAs in Gujarat. We have MLAs in Goa. We are getting councillors, mayors across the country. So I think BJP as a party is nervous of the rise of Arvind Kejriwal.
You're
in
saying...
our recent, polls which are being done by our TV channels, we have seen that in terms of opposition leaders, Arvind Kejriwal is one of the most popular leaders in the opposition. So the kind of energy the central government and its agencies are spending on Aam Aadmi Party, it makes all the anti-BJP people think that yes, here's the contender. Here's the challenger, Arvind Kejriwal, who is challenging Mr. Modi, and probably this will help us crystallize the support for Arvind Kejriwal and Aam Aadmi Party. And believe me, we will come out very strong out of it.
You're claiming that the BJP is targeting you because your popularity, you claim, has increased. But Yogendra Yadav, it's very interesting that we are seeing now. No, just a minute. We are seeing that even the Congress has, at least at the Delhi level, questioned the Aam Aadmi Party, claiming that there is corruption in the Delhi liquor policy. Do you believe, and perhaps you can wear your political hat here, not just as Swaraj India, but as someone who's observed politics, do you believe that a movement that starts from anti-corruption, when it gets tangled in corruption charges, the halo is gone, and therefore Arvind Kejriwal now is seen as just another politician?
Rajdeep, it all depends on whether it's the Aam Aadmi Party that finally gets tainted or it's the CBI that finally gets tainted. We still don't know yet. We need to wait and watch. And just as I worried in what I said earlier, worried as a Democrat, as someone who supports federalism, I worry about what kind of things are being done. I also worry about something else, because both the things that you said might be true. It might be true, as I said. It is a serious case. It's not a figment of imagination. There is a chief secretary's report. There is a lot of documentation. There is something to be answered. But it is also true, and Saurabh Bharadwaj is correct, that in wider public perception, ये सब CBI का खेल है, तो हमेशा ही ऐसा करते हैं. The real fear that I have as a citizen of this country is that the manner in which CBI and other investigative agencies are being used, more so by this regime than by the previous one, no one would trust any investigation ever. Nothing is serious. That is the question that we should be asking. My BJP friend just said, that actually no such case has happened. You've already given a list. Can I add a small item to that list? There is a report done by Reporters Collective that came just 2 days ago. What does that report show? That report shows with CAG documents. These are not just reporters making allegations. This is the Comptroller and Auditor General of India's findings, which have been suppressed, which shows that the Modi government, after they came to power, were involved in the same kind of discretionary and corrupt allotment of coal mine blocks. In this case, to a group called RP Goenka Group, which the CAG objected to. Yet all these things were bypassed, all these things were done. Now, would we expect a CBI investigation into that? Would we expect CBI calling these people, checking it out? And Rajdeep, allow me to say, do we expect the CBI to interrogate the SEBI chief, the SBI chief, and the LIC chief for their role in the Adani scam?
You want to finally answer that, Harish Khurana? I know you've been dying to jump in. The fact is, na khaunga na khane duga was what the Prime Minister promised 2014 August. No. Na khaunga na khane duga only operates for the opposition?
No, Rajdeep, before.
No, answer that. No, forget Rajdeep, before. Answer that. Answer that. Direct question. Direct question.
Rajdeep, listen to me out. Rajdeep, listen to me out. Listen me out first. Please, you have not intervened anybody else. At least I expect not to intervene me also, boss. See, I want to revert first to my minister in waiting, my friend Mr. Saurabh Bhardwaj. He's saying we are nervous, BJP is nervous. A party who have no seats in Lok Sabha, I will call it a Manohar Kahaniya. In the phrases Manohar Kahaniya. We are expecting 272 seats and making him as a future Shiksha Mantri of India. You need to have 272 seats. If you have a thing in Punjab and Delhi, both the numbers we calculate, the total stake of Aam Aadmi Party is just 20 seats. Out of 272, you need to have 272 seats. So when you say that BJP is afraid, these were same rhetoric which have been repeated in Gujarat election. You remember when Vijay Nair was arrested? BJP ghabra gayi hai. What has happened? BJP got 153 seats and you got only. I still remember Arvind Kejriwal was giving in writing. मैं writing में देता हूँ. 5 seats will be.
ना खाऊंगा ना खाने दूंगा.
And
sir, ना खाऊंगा ना खाने दूंगा.
Majority. You remember?
Can you give me an assurance that the CBI, can you give me an assurance that the CBI, the SEBI are independent institutions? No, you haven't answered that. We still don't know. According to the opposition,
yes,
all of this is being used as a distraction from the Adani case.
Rajdeep, hear me out. First of all, Adani case is already in the court. Point number 1. Point number 2, whatever the allegation Yogendra Yadav is making, Yogendra Yadav is a learned gentleman. Why? आप कोर्ट पे चले जाओ ना यार. अगर आपके पास you have a proof, you believe in courts ना. File a PI in a court that is a proof. Let's have a SIT. Let's have a court intervention SIT over there. Okay. Why are you doing that? They will not do that because they don't have a substance. We have seen one of the case in Rafale. What has happened? चौकीदार चोर है. क्या हुआ? अंत में माफी मांगनी पड़ी ना. They have to feel sorry about that. What they have said. Point is, they are just making a baseless allegation without the evidence what the substance they have.
Okay,
they don't have any substance. They want to allegate कि मैं बस एक narrative set करना है.
Okay, you're saying you made your point. You're claiming that Yogendra Yadav ji, please go to court. Is the message from the BJP?
They have the CBI and the opposition has one possibility of going to the court to appeal to please institute an SIT. Wonderful. I get the logic.
Okay. I think we get the logic as well. Clearly, though, for now it's the Aam Aadmi. For now, it's the Aam Aadmi Party.
Have you got a substance?
Okay, no,
just making an allegation. I'll make an allegation. Yogendra Yadav chor hai. Will it make a sense? No, I think no. Yogendra Yadav, we need to prove it. Ki yes, these are substance. At least we should understand before alleging somebody.
Harish Khurana, you're on a roll. Harish Khurana, Saurabh Bhardwaj, and Yogendra Yadav, and earlier Abhishek Manu Singh. Clearly, there are lots of issues tangled in here. And because we are building up to 2024, it would be unfortunate if investigations get tangled in politics. We want corruption to be removed, but corruption must be done in a manner that ensures that everyone, irrespective of political affiliations, are prosecuted as per due process. The process must not become the punishment. Thank you all very much for joining me. Let's turn from there to another case which is making the headlines from the Supreme Court. Only yesterday, the Supreme Court dismissed BJP leader Ashwini Upadhyay's petition to rename cities and historical monuments that were named after invaders. But the two-judge Supreme Court bench, which struck down the petition, also made certain important observations about how renaming could only fan communal disharmony at times. What does this mean to renaming cities? Take a look.
to become Chhatrapati Sambhaji Nagar. Osmanabad becomes Dharashiv. Allahabad renamed as Prayagraj. And there are calls to rename Hyderabad as Bhagyanagar. In the past few years, many cities have got new identities, and there is a clamour for many more name changes. Now the top court of India has come down heavily on one such petition for renaming cities. The Supreme Court on Monday rejected a public interest litigation by Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay, a BJP leader, seeking new names for all cities and historical sites named after who he called barbaric invaders. During the hearing, two-judge bench of Justice K.M. Joseph and Justice B.V. Nagaratna made several observations. Justice Joseph said the plea is aimed at a particular community. He highlighted how digging up the past can lead to communal disharmony in the society. The justice asked the petitioner if he wanted to keep the country on the boil. Justice Joseph described Hinduism as the greatest religion in terms of metaphysics, adding, "Do not belittle it." The justice said he is a Christian, but he is equally fond of Hinduism and has tried to study it. Justice Joseph pointed out that religious worship has nothing to do with roads. Justice B.V. Nagaratna made several observations on Hinduism and its essence. She said Hinduism is a way of life, because of which India has assimilated everybody. Hinduism does not allow bigotry, she added. Justice Nagaratna asked the petitioner not to bring back the divide and rule policy of the British with such petitions. She said historical facts cannot be wished away and that the country has many other problems to address. The court stressed that India is wedded to rule of law, secularism and constitutionalism and cannot be a prisoner of the past.
भगवान कृष्ण ने सोनप्रस्थ मांगा था, वो सोनीपत हो गया। इंद्रप्रस्थ मांगा था, दिल्ली हो गया। पानप्रस्थ मांगा था, वो पानीपत हो गया।
The petitioner has also wanted the Archaeological Survey of India list all historical sites named after settlers.
ऐसे वो स्थान जिनका वर्णन कहीं न कहीं वेद पुराण में है, कहीं न कहीं गीता रामायण में है, उन स्थानों का नाम बदला जा चुका है। हम आज़ादी की 75वीं वर्षगांठ मना रहे हैं, तो हमें ये अधिकार है कि हमारे कम से कम जिन स्थानों का वर्णन वेद पुराण में है उनका पुनः नामकरण किया जाए। सेकुलरिज्म का मतलब ये नहीं होता कि हमारे जो धार्मिक स्थान है, जो ऐतिहासिक स्थान है, जो सांस्कृतिक स्थान है, वो आक्रांताओं के नाम पे चले।
The Supreme Court bench of Justices K.M. Joseph and B.V. Nagaratna, while dismissing the PIL by Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay, said that no nation should be allowed to become a prisoner of its own past. The bench in its order stated that the history of no nation should impact its current and future generations to such an extent that the succeeding generations become a prisoner of the country's own past. In its order, the bench also spoke extensively about the concept of fraternity and how a true sense of brotherhood and a true sense of secularity can only be achieved when different sections of the society come together in true harmony. In New Delhi, this is Nalini Sharma for India Today.
Interesting court verdict. Let's take a break at this point. When we return, we are turning to our campaign for justice. For a young woman who lost her mother, a college principal was burnt to death by a former student. We'll be speaking to the family up next. You're watching the news today.
I think there's an opportunity for India particularly to work with the United States and others.
India is the largest, has the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world.
I thought if it's blowing in the wind, it's best I'm on the motorcycle. And I did 15,000 kilometers in 36 days.
Rich countries have a particular obligation to exercise their investment in innovation.
I believe that global business has the money and the power.
Improvements in the way we understand the importance of education and healthcare.
You have a greater chance of killing yourself than of being killed by any soldier or terrorist or criminal.
calling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political back.
she takes the news by its horns.
You think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold, and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories from every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
Tonight's Get Real India story is part of our campaign of justice for a story that has shocked the nation. After a college principal was burnt to death by a former student over a delay in getting a mark sheet. We had highlighted the story yesterday of how Ashutosh Srivastav set Professor Vimukti Sharma on fire by pouring petrol on her last week. A week later, while the student has been arrested under the stringent National Security Act, the family is demanding fast-track justice and insisting that the police inaction led to the tragic incident which they insist could have been prevented. Earlier today, I spoke to the daughter of the principal. Listen in to Devanshi as she spoke to me of exactly why they want justice above all else now. Listen in. And joining me now is Devanshi Sharma, daughter of Dr. Vimukta Sharma, principal of the BM College of Pharmacy near Indore. Remember, it was her mother, the principal of that college, who was tragically burnt to death, set ablaze by her own student, who's now, of course, in police custody in jail. But Devanshi wants more. First of all, Devanshi, my deep, deep condolences for what happened. I know it's only 8 days since this has happened, but the sheer horror of it, I can tell you, has shocked and outraged all of us. So all our sympathies with you above all else, ma'am.
Thank you for that.
Devanshi, you sent me a WhatsApp message yesterday saying that you wanted the media to take up the case to ensure fast-track justice. What exactly are you looking for now that the person involved has been arrested?
Right. So the last 5 to 6 days when my mother was in the hospital, I got a chance to speak to her once, and she multiple times said, I want to survive, I want to live, I want to be here. Unfortunately, 90% burn was way too much for her to be with us, and therefore she's no more. I've seen her in pain, in so much trauma, and I have seen her suffer in those 5 days, mentally as well as physically. I think anything less than hanging that person or, giving him the highest order of punishment would be less. I demand a fast track court proceeding in which the accused should be hanged to death. And every person in the system who knew about it when my mother was writing requests, asking for police protection, asking for help, and the action was not taken. I also want action against all of them. I also want action against them who, when my mother was pleading for help, they did not help her at all.
Let me understand this. You are saying that you have no faith in the police system, in the criminal justice system, because the fact is that the concerned officers who apparently did not heed your mother's complaint, they've been transferred out. Action is going to be taken, say the local police, against them. Don't you have any faith in the system? Do you believe that somehow this person could still get away?
So, when in the earlier requests and FIRs that were done against the accused, he was threatening my mother. He was sending messages that were life threatening, on which there was an avedan that was given to the police. The last sentence says clearly that she wanted police protection. Neither was the accused taken into custody, nor was any protection given to my mother. Result of which is what has happened today. So there has been some action that has been taken against the person who was involved in it from the police side, but till this accused is hanged till death, I think I would not feel that the justice has been served to my mother.
But we are finding that this case has struck a chord with a lot of people in Indore. There have been protests over it. It's also getting a political angle. This is an election year in Madhya Pradesh. We are hearing politicians expressing their grief. What would you like to tell the netas who are also now sort of expressing their solidarity? Do you want to keep politics completely out of this? You just want justice above all else. Am I right?
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. I have lost my mother. There is hopelessness and helplessness that I am going through right now. I don't want anything to be politicized. All I am begging for and all I am asking for is justice for my mother at the earliest. Because the way she has been serving in the education sector, we say Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, and then this has happened to her. I absolutely just want justice regardless any politics that is surrounding this. All I am requesting and all I want and all that my family is wanting is justice for my mother.
A daughter's cry for justice. Hopefully, there will be swift and sure action in this case. Let me leave you with our good news today's story, and it comes from an image. A quite remarkable match took place in New Zealand, where New Zealand created a slice of history as they beat England by just 1 run at Wellington in the second test match. This is only the 4th time in the history of a sport that a team has managed to win the match after following on, and only the 2nd time that a team has won by just 1 run. That was the dramatic moment when Neil Wagner got James Anderson out caught behind, leading to a victory by just 1 run. That's why they call it Test cricket. Great fun to watch that. Stay well, stay safe. Remember, cricket and music are the 2 stress busters in the times in which we live. Bye for now.
What a stunning test match! Unbelievable! Anderson can't believe it. The actor save for New Zealand. The disappointment for England. It's Wagner, he's done it. What a remarkable game of test match cricket.
Wali painting, a mural art form of Maharashtra, gives Aurangabad a facelift ahead of a G20 inception meeting. A group of 120 women painted non-stop for 6 hours to complete the artwork.
वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट शो करते हुए हम लोग ये जो प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हैं वारली का, वर्ल्ड्स लार्जेस्ट वारली पेंटिंग जो है, जिसका रिकॉर्ड पहले पूना में था, उसको पूना के रिकॉर्ड को ब्रेक करते हुए, उसको चैलेंज करते हुए आज हम सब लड़कियां, वी आर 120 लेडीज हियर वर्किंग फॉर दिस वारली पेंटिंग टुडे. और इसका सबसे बड़ा क्रेडिट जो जाता है, जो मेरी बहुत अच्छी फ्रेंड है, वो है नंदिनी घोडेले. ये कॉन्सेप्ट जो जहाँ से आई है, वो लड़की ने सर 21 इयर्स की लड़की है. दिस इज रियली अ मोटिवेशन टू ऑल द गर्ल्स ओवर हियर.
The work spread over 3,200 square feet will enter the India Book of Records 2024 in the social and cultural category. This painting breaks the earlier record of 3,050 square feet set by artists in Pune. congratulate all the dignitaries, those who have taken efforts, जिन्होंने इस इवेंट को एक सक्सेसफुल बनाया है, and congratulations to Aurangabad Municipal Corporation. There were no professional artists among the 120 participants. They came from different professions like medicine, accountancy, and engineering. Bureau Report, India Today.
Integration of Air India and Vistara needs to go through a regulatory approval process. There are 3 steps to that process. One is competition clearance. The second is from a DGCA regulatory aviation perspective. And the third is obviously the merger of the 2 companies. We are in the process of the first phase, seeking competition clearance. But in anticipation of this, we are working together with some external parties to work on what are the areas of opportunity in an integrated business, what are the things that we need to focus on in the process of that integration, and what would the end state look like once we have received clearance to actually embark on the integration process. The intention is to end up with one full-service airline and one low-cost airline in the group. The full-service airline will be an amalgam of Air India and Vistara, but we expect that many of the practices and systems will be those of Vistara, being a younger, privatized airline that has been able to imbibe the learnings that it brings from its other shareholders. We are not unaware of what they have in terms of systems and processes. And so over the course of the privatization process and the last year, a lot of the transformation that we've been doing at Air India has been with a view to put ourselves on a similar platform as Vistara, so that in the event the merger is approved, it's a much more seamless and faster process. I think there are certainly there's a desire to carry forward the heritage of both erstwhile Air India and Vistara into the new Air India. Quite the form in which that Vistara component takes, we're still working through. Vistara clearly has achieved a lot of success and very strong recognition and respect in the Indian market. But if you look outside the Indian market, clearly Air India is much more recognized and has a 90-year history. So we've communicated to staff that the future full-service carrier will be called Air India, but we would like to retain and celebrate some of the Vistara heritage in that new manifestation.
Tragedies can either break you or make you. And this story from Naxal hit Gadchiroli will inspire you in many ways. Bharati Bogami was just 17 when her father, the Sarpanch of Lahiri village, was shot dead by Naxals in 2002. A brain tumor survivor, she faced several financial problems and yet continued her struggle to become a doctor. She now serves in the same area where her father was killed.
मैं सोच रही थी अब तो पापा चले गए, आज ये सब होने के बाद अगर यही मेरा फ्यूचर.
Co-powered by Get quick loans from Tata Capital.
Volkswagen Verter.
In a word, no.
Viral professor back in India. Babonis drops another bombshell. Surgical strike on VDem democracy report. Flawed practices behind low democracy rating. Salvatore Babonis, live and exclusive on India First.
A University of Sydney professor and American sociologist, Professor Salvatore Babonis, has exposed major shortcomings in Sweden's varieties of democracies or VDem ratings. Professor Babonis, in a paper accessed exclusively by India Today, has not only decimated the latest VDem ratings of 2022 that placed the Indian democracy in the 100th position as against 65th in 2014. But he has also questioned the methodology adopted by the VDem Institute of Sweden. Professor Babonis joins me on India Today for an India First special broadcast. But first, we bring you some of the bizarre findings of the report. Varieties of democracies rankings are flawed, asserts a Sydney University professor after a detailed analysis of the VDem 2022 report that claimed India had fallen to the 100th position as a democracy. Professor Salvatore Babonis insists that there are very serious methodology flaws that lead to mischaracterization of democracies in this report.
It's what democracy really should be all about. Now, this report's being released March 1st. This is a launch report for the Indian Century Roundtable think tank. I hope you'll read it and take a look at it. It is a much more technical, statistical, methodological investigation of the most important of the three rankings, the VDem rankings. It's not all based on an analysis of the text involved in describing the rankings. It is an analysis of the rankings themselves and of the statistical methodology behind it.
The American sociologist working at the Sydney University carried out a detailed analysis of the Varieties of Democracies Report 2022 brought out by the VDem Institute in Sweden. The professor has faulted the report both on its objective and subjective sub-indices.
The result of these methodological quirks, almost all of the analytical power, the discretionary power in the VDem rankings, comes from two completely subjective sub-indices, that is, from the freedom of association and freedom of expression sub-indices. Here, there's a lot more room for interpretation. It seems to me highly unlikely that we can take these subjective measures at face value. The result of all of this is that India, in effect, gets no credit for having an objective democracy, that is, a place where people can vote in genuine elections.
The VDem Electoral Democracy Index, published in March by Sweden's Varieties of Democracies Institute in its 2022 report, based on the data of 2021, saw India fall to the 100th position as against the 65th position in 2014. But Professor Babonis argues that the report suffers from serious flaws, giving a perfect score on the sub-index of elected officials to countries like Libya, Cuba, Belarus, Russia, Syria and Vietnam. Among the 174 countries given a perfect score for universal suffrage, China, Hong Kong, Iran, North Korea, Myanmar, Palestine and Venezuela score higher than genuine democracies. Professor Babonis says the methodology in these ratings is so flawed that according to these rankings, India's electoral system between 2019 and 21 was less free and fair compared to the height of emergency in 1976 when elections were suspended and more than 100,000 political opponents were imprisoned without trial. VDEM ratings are unable to differentiate between real and sham democracies, he insists.
The VDEM rankings, it turns out, have very serious methodological flaws that lead it to mischaracterize not only Indian democracy, but many democracies around the world. The VDEM rankings include 5 sub-indices of electoral democracy that don't really differentiate in many cases between sham democracies or even complete non-democracies like China, North Korea, and Cuba, and genuine democracies like India.
The study has also questioned the subjective aspect of the ratings, where India is ranked 119th in the freedom of expression, thereby indicating censorship in India like in Iran. Bureau Report, India Today. And Professor Bebonis now joins me in our studio. Sir, welcome on India Today.
Pleasure to be here.
Before I come to the specific aspect of India, when we talk about this VDEM report that gives a perfect score to countries like Belarus, Cuba, Libya and Syria on the issue of elected officials, what do you make of these findings?
134 countries in the world get a perfect score on the 2 objective sub-indices of the Rise of Democracy Institute rankings. These are elected officials and universal suffrage. Interestingly, India is not among the countries that gets a perfect objective score because until recently, 2 members of the Lok Sabha were appointed to represent the Anglo-Indian community, meaning that India fell short of China on the metric of elected officials because they're simply asking, do the constitutions say that everyone should be elected? They're not asking about the quality of those elections.
Bizarre. Then let me come to the second aspect. Among 174 countries, those given a perfect score for universal suffrage include countries like China, Hong Kong, after the Chinese takeover, Iran and North Korea. Why would anyone take the VDEM ratings seriously?